Hello there, this is Mark Smith with Family Tree Counseling Associates. I apologize on that last video about the 10 ways borderline mothers deeply wound their children. I had read a poem and I was having some kind of technical issue with my iPad that I used to record the video. I think I've got that straightened out, so no more cut off videos. So I'll just reread the poem and we'll just have a second video sort of picking up on the theme of wounding borderline mothers. Perhaps things happen for a reason. The poem reading was a bit rushed when I did it in the other video, and it didn't chop off at too bad of a place. So to set the scene again, this was the night of August the 6th it was a Wednesday night of 1997, and I had gone off on my little 700cc Honda motorcycle to Brown County, about 2 hours south of Indianapolis. Brown County is a place people go to hike, and there's also a artist community, Nashville, Indiana, down there. So I was relaxing and I was writing, and I was working on my 7 Habits of Highly Effective People work. And I got a note on my door, little cabin door, at 11 p.m. And I called my now former wife, and she informed me that my mother had had a heart attack and she passed away. And it was too late. It was 11 p.m. and I had a small motorcycle. It was too late to drive back that night. And I had a cell phone, but I had really bad reception, and I didn't have any internet in 97 in my little cabin. So I had a pad of paper and a pen and a lot of sadness. And so I wrote this poem just as a way to process my grief, and I ended up reading it at the funeral. The cool thing was, the next morning, a man in the cabin, there were 2 cabins in these small buildings. He asked me if everything was okay because he saw the note. And that turned out to be one of my college professors from Taylor University. And I told him, no, my mother died, and he prayed with me. It was so cool that I was all alone in the world. I was in that cabin, and yet somebody from community was strategically placed there for me. And it really did help to have somebody empathize with me and show me some kindness and to show some care during that very, very dark and lonely hour of my life. So I entitled the poem Our Mom, and really I was reading it mainly for my siblings, but also for everybody there at this funeral service. Our mom was fun. She was loud and colorful and very spontaneous. She loved music, parties, and people of any size, shape, color, or creed. I don't think she would even want today to be a sad, dark occasion, but rather a celebration of her life. And our mom loved us. She loved us as best she could. She showed that with her hugs and kisses, with her interest in our lives, with her biscuits and gravy in the morning, and with her famous stuffed green peppers at night. Our mom, if you can picture this, was like Doris Day on steroids. She had the unbridled joy of a child and the zest for living of an imp, and a singing voice that made you feel all warm and magical on the inside. And our mom loved us. She loved us as best she could. She showed it by showering our kids with attention and love, by moving home from her beloved Florida, and by sacrificing for us and holding our home together when we were scared, needy little ones. Our mom loved to eat. She loved to laugh. She loved to spend. And she wasn't the least bit shy about flashing that Irish temper from time to time. You always knew exactly what she was feeling. There was never a dull moment with Virginia Pat, the Democrat. And she loved us. Our mama loved us as best she could. And I'm very proud and happy to be her son. She was remarkable and unforgettable and obnoxious and wonderful all at the same time. She was sunshine and roses and a thundercloud. Our mom has left a legacy. Although much of her life was uneven and out of control, and many times she was robbing Peter to pay Paul, today she leaves a truly great family. We love her, and we are also very much like her, because we too are loud and sometimes edgy, and we really don't mind being the center of attention. We play hard, we eat hard, we're generally somewhat large and in charge, and we love our families as well. We love them as best we can. We've all learned to deal with our lives in different ways, and we are blessed, and we are very strong, and we owe so much of who we are to her. Our mom will be deeply missed. However, her memory will live on deeply within us, dancing like a little girl on the screens of our minds. Our mom was special, and she loved us. She loved us as best she could. I want to go through and address some of the things, because when I read this, it concerned me because it was just so filled with denial. If you have a borderline parent, you need to know it, and you need to feel the implications of it, and you need to name it. Frankly, I went into my mid-40s not afraid of borderlines. They intrigued me, they excited me. I was dealing with soul murderers, and I thought I was dealing with cutie pies. And the last one was so dangerous and so ruthless that it about killed me. Cluster B disorder stuff is not a joke. They're not just cute. They're not just eccentric. They're soul murderers. So in the first paragraph, I talked about her love for people, and that was true. My mother did love people. She loved to be the center of attention with people. And it's so true with dysfunctional families. We love as best we can. And with my mom and dad, it really wasn't very good, and it wasn't nearly enough. Just about everybody in my family developed food addiction, because that's how my mother showed love. There wasn't as many hugs and kisses as I remembered, but there was a lot of biscuits and gravy and stuffed green peppers. Doris Day on steroids, sing, dance, rage, control. She did have a beautiful singing voice. Even with the grandchildren, there was a sense of, as I look back, her feeding on their narcissistic supply. She did have a food addiction. She ate herself to death when she was 58 years old. And it didn't have to happen, but she didn't get in recovery. She didn't do work on herself, and she basically ate herself to death. And so instead of calling rage, rage, I said she flashed her Irish temper. What a lovely way to say that in denial. And she did have a spending addiction. She was unforgettable. I really don't think she was remarkable. She was obnoxious, and she could be wonderful. That's the thing about cluster Bs. They can act quite wonderful, but they are obnoxious, and they are hurtful, and they are dangerous people. And she did rob Peter to pay Paul, and her life was out of control. And she didn't leave a great family. She left a broken mess. I've got an older brother who's a religious addict, narcissist. I've got a younger brother who's a sweet guy, who's a lesser narcissist. I've got some narcissistic tendencies, although I have loads of heart and empathy, as you guys know. And then I had a sister who was killed by a drug addiction, a sister who's a wicked, wicked borderline, and then a sister who's had really bad bipolar issues. So we seemed strong because 4 of us made a lot of money and were the boss at work, but that was just a cover, a shell that covered over the real brokenness on the inside. And most of my family members are still covered up or being employed as flying monkeys by that nasty borderline younger sister that I referred to. Here's the classic line of the poem and a good description of a borderline who's faking it, and that is, she was sunshine and roses and a thundercloud. That is so descriptive of a borderline. So yes, she left a legacy, all right, a legacy of me needing to pick soul murdering, abandoning, lying, cheating, hurtful cluster Bs who about shattered me into oblivion. So I do miss my mom. I do love my mom. And she loved us as best she could, but it just wasn't anywhere nearly enough. It's a scary thought to have. My dad was Aspergerish, like a bubble around him. He was a wounded little boy. He was born when his mother was 14 years old. He's a Pennsylvania hillbilly from the coal mines south of Pittsburgh in Butler, Pennsylvania. And my mother was born out of a union between, my grandmother was 19 and she became pregnant. She was the nanny for a family, and she became pregnant with the man's child, and then she was shipped off to an orphanage for the first 3 years of her life. So, I was abandoned and didn't connect, but at least my mom was in the house, whereas my mom was just shipped off to an orphanage. And then when she was picked up by my grandmother, the man she'd married, my grandfather, was a horrible little Dutch troll of a narcissist man, just filled with rage and control. And he hated my mother. He couldn't have children. So she became the face of his abuse and rage. And she wanted to run off and get married with the first guy with a crew cut and a cool car, which was my dad. So I hope you enjoyed the poem, and I'm glad I got to do it justice with giving it context and sort of breaking through some of the denial. When people die, we over-idealize them. You want to be a great president? Get assassinated, halfway through your term, and we'll think more highly of you than maybe we should have. It's a overcast, really muggy Sunday. I'm going to go cut the grass, so I hope this was a blessing to you. Borderline personality and cluster Bs is no joking matter. Protect yourself. The world is not a safe place, but you can make it safe if you're discerning and wise. My good friend Tom and I had dinner last night, and we were discussing dating and that fine line between trusting enough to let somebody in and protecting your heart so you don't get smashed by liars and cheaters and cluster Bs. There's a fine line in there somewhere. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching. If you haven't joined our YouTube channel, join us at Family Tree Counseling on YouTube. And I've got an excellent book on abandonment issues. I've got 3 videos on Narcissistic Abuse Syndrome recovery. I've got a book on affair recovery and a good book on shame. So visit familytreecounseling.com and get some more goodies from Mark Smith and his experiences through recovery by my blessed mother and my blessed father. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.